Where is your babies? Well, I don't have babies, nor I have a baby. So when I was young, or when I was still in the Philippines, I really made sure, or I really thought of having a child of my own, especially having a child with a foreigner. Because our mentality as being a Filipino or Filipina, we have this saying that, oh, when we marry a foreigner, we must have a kid with them so that we don't waste the gene. Now, I'm not going to say that all Filipina mentalities are like that, because that's not true. There are many Filipinas out there who doesn't want any children at all, but sometimes, or most of the time, they are very rare to find, because a lot of times, every time you meet a lot of Filipinas, they always want to have kids. So when I came to Canada and ended up with a foreigner, I always thought to myself, you know what, I cannot wait to have a kid or babies with him. Because back then, I had a Filipina mentality. So at the same time, I was being pressured by my own family, friends, and relatives from the Philippines that I should have a kid. So most of the time, when a Filipina or a Filipino would tell you you should have a kid, they don't mean to offend you. It just means that it is part of our culture that you must have a kid. Because if you don't have a kid, it's kind of like, what's wrong with you? Because the purpose of that is, who's gonna take care of you when you get old? So when I was with my foreigner boyfriend, I thought to myself, we should have a kid first before we get married. But during that time, I was not ready at all. He was not ready at all, because we were still both really young. So you know what? We thought we should not have kids yet. And after 7 years of our relationship, I kind of having that motherhood instinct with me. I wanted to have a child, but his decision then was on and off, on and off. And at the same time, for me, I was really craving for it. It almost feel like my stomach was on fire, thinking that, oh, I should have kids by now, or I should be having baby by now. So we ended up having a talk about it, and we both decided that, you know what, we should not have kids, not just yet. And eventually it came to the point that he didn't want to have a kid at all. And after 10 years of being together, he still didn't want to have kids. And I thought to myself, you know what? I really want to have kids. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we ended up our relationship together. But then when I ended up being with my second partner, eventually I got pregnant. But unfortunately, I lost the baby. And so I thought to myself, will I ever have a kid, or will I ever want to have a kid? But deep inside me, I never see myself having my own kids. Instead, I saw myself having a lot of kids. But then eventually I found out that I had a feeling that having my own kid is really not for me. If I end up having a kid of my own, then I'm okay with that. And if I don't end up having a kid of my own, then I'm also okay with that. And even though I don't have a kid of my own, I have a lot of children in the Philippines. Meaning my purpose and mission in life is to help a lot of kids in the Philippines. And that's also part of the reason why having a kid of my own now is not a good idea. I've decided to sacrifice not having a kid, but rather help a lot of kids. But then again, I mentioned earlier that you will find Filipinas who doesn't want a kid at all, but sometimes it's rare to find them. But if you do find that Filipina who doesn't want to have a kid anymore, and you don't want to have a kid anymore, then you are lucky. Disney storybook name, please. To be honest with you, I don't read any Disney storybook except my own book. In reality, we can create our own Disney storybook, and you just have to write it and follow it. A lot of people create their own stories that has a lot of emotions. Many or most people's book contains a lot of drama, anxiety, traumas, depressions, mental and emotional problems or issues. And the thing is, if you're in that moment or if you're in that story, you can easily change it what you want. You can easily change, or we can easily change our story into magical, full of love, full of magic, full of peace and harmony. But yet we choose to have a lot of pain and agonies. I used to have that story too, but I realized that when I noticed, or I found out that I can actually write my own story in my own book, I had to change everything. And when there's drama that will come into my life, I can easily change it and direct it. And basically, I'm the director of my own story. So if there's a drama or any problems, I can easily change it to no drama or no problems at all. All you have to do is reverse everything, change the way you look at things, and the way you look at things will change.